Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophets Speak. Today we continue our study of Divrei Hayomim Aleph, that is the first book of Chronicles. We are about to study chapter 25, that is Perek Chaf Hey. We are discussing here in the last few chapters and in this one the preparations that David made for the temple that was going to be built by his son, Shlomo. We talked about all of the materials he got ready, the workers he got ready. We talked about how he divided up the families of the Kohanim, the priests, the families of the Leviim, the Levites. Everything was divided into groups of 24. Um, and then we mentioned that among the families of the Leviim, a certain number were designated as the singers, as those who were going to sing and lead the congregation, to lead the people at the temple in song and in prayer. So today we are going to discuss that specific group of Levium, that specific groups of Levites. So verse 1 begins, Vayavdel David v'sorei hatzavah. So David set aside and the officers of the army, la'avodah, for the purpose of service, livnei Asaph, from the descendants, the children of Asaph, veheman vidusun. Those were three of the Levites. They set aside them, Hanib'im, those who would prophesy, Bechinorot, when they were playing on Kinorot, Binvalim. Kinorot are translated usually as a lyre. It's an ancient stringed instrument, Binvalim, with harps, with Mitziltayim and cymbals. Vayihi misparam anshe milachal avodasam, and their numbers and those who were set aside for this particular work and service was as follows. It's interesting how it mentions here Hanibim, those who would prophesy while singing. It gives us the Rashi over here brings the story, similar story, where we find by the prophet Elisha in the second book of Kings, Melachim Bet, chapter 3, where it says that it was when the singing, when they were singing and playing musical instruments, that is when he prophesied. And this is referring to the special relationship that one develops with the divine through music, through worship. Um, and these are the ones who would prophesy then. Livnei Asaph, so again, who are these people? From the descendants of Asaph, Zakor, Yosef, Unetanya, Asre'elah, Bnei Asaph. These were all sons of Asaph. Al Yad Asaph Haniba Al Yidei Hamelach. They were uh, in under the command of Asaph himself, their father Haniba, who would prophecy next to or based on the instructions of the king himself. So the king placed Asaph and his children to do this particular job. Again, the idea of prophecy and song going together. Prophecy, song slash prayer. Lidusun, to the other family, the family of Yedutun, Bnei Yidusun, Gedaliyahu, Utsri, Shayahu, Chashabyahu, Matityahu. Some of these names we know are going to pop up. These are popular names. They pop up here and they pop up later on in the words of the prophets. The name Gedaliyahu, the name Yeshayahu, Isaiah, the name um, Matityahu, of fame much later on in history, at the times of the Maccabees. So these are popular names all the way back at the time of the early Davidic times and later on as well, and to this day, in fact. Shishal Yedei Avihem Yidutun Bakinar. Six of them took charge from their father, who was Yidusun, playing the harp, or the harp. Haniba al Hodot v'Halel Adonai, who would prophesy together with at the time that they are giving thanks to and praise to God. Lehaman, the third family, was the family of Haman. Bnei Haman, his sons were as follows: Bukiyahu, Matanyahu, Uziel, Shivuel, Virimot, Hananya, Hanani, Eliata, Gidalti, Viromamti, Ezer, Yoshbekasha, Maloti, Hotir, Machaziot. Those are a whole bunch of sons called Ele Banim Lehaman. These were all the sons of Haman. Jose Hamelach, he was the seer of the king. Again, the idea of prophecy tied to song. B'divrei Elohim Loharim Karen, he would speak the words of God to raise. Literally, Laharim Karen means to raise a horn, but what it means is to bring glory to God. Vayitein Elohim leHeman, and God gave to Haman banim arba asar 14 sons, ubanos shalosh, and 3 daughters. Kol Eila, all of these people that we mentioned, Al Yidei Avihem, took charge from their father. In other words, the fathers that we mentioned, Haman, Asaph, and Yedutun, led their families. Bashir in song, Beit Adonai in the house of God, Bimtziltayim with cymbals, Nivalim, lyres, Vikinorot, and harps, Abudat Beit Elohim, as part of the worship in the house of God, Al Yidei HaMelech, which was all, and all of this, of course, was planned and led by the king himself. And those 3 families, again, their names were Asaph, Yedutun, Veheman. And their numbers counted together with their families, Milum de Shir, those who had the skills of, they were musicians, Ladonai, but specifically musicians designated to worship God. Kol HaMaven, those who had those skills, those special skills to play these instruments and to sing Masayim Shmonim Ushmona. The total number of them were 288 of them. Vayapilu gorolot, and they also cast lots in order to divide those 288 into the 24 groups. Mishmeret leumat kakaton kagadol mevin im talmid. The idea was that no matter how big, or what this means exactly, big here, is could mean many things. It could mean, famous. It could mean more skilled and experienced, right? Kakaton, kagadol could be, wealthy, or, something like that. So in other words, they did it by lots rather than by influence, so that everyone could get a fair share. Mevinim Talmid, an experienced, skilled master, also together with the students, with the new musicians, all of them had an equal chance at getting places. So the next several verses is going to be lists of names and the groups of the 24 families, but 24 groups. Vayetzei Hagor Rishon, the first lot went Asaph to Asaph, Yosef to Yosef, Gedayahu Asheni. Gedayahu was the second. Hu ve'achav uvanav, he and his son, his brothers and his sons, Shnei Masar, that were 12 of them. Hashlishi, the third lot went Zakur, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, he also had 12. Haravi Yitzri, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, that was Yitzri, also 12. Hachamishi, the fifth, Netanyahu, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, he and his sons and his brothers, also 12. Hashishi, the sixth, was Bukiyahu, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, also 12. I'm just going to read the names. Hashvi, Yasser Ela, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, that was Yasser Ela, the same thing. Hashmini, the eighth, is Yeshayahu, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, also 12. Hatashi, Matanyahu, the ninth was Matanyahu, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. Ha'asiri, Shimi, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, the 10th was Shimi. Ashtei Asar, the 11th was Azar El, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. Hashnei Masar, the 12th was Lechashavia, came to Chashavia, also Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shlosh Asar, the 13th was Shuva El, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. Li'arba Asar, the 14th was Matityahu, Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, also 12. Lachamisha Asar, to the 15th was Li went to Yiremot. Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shisha Asar, the 16th, Lechananyahu, went to Chananyahu. Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shiva Asar, Li Yash B'kasha, to Yash B'kasha, that was the 17th. Banavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shman Asar, Lachanani, the 18th went to Chanani. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'tisha Asar, to the 19th went Maloti, to Maloti. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. Liasrim, the 20th Le'eliata. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. Liachad Viasrim, the 21st went Lehotir, to Hotir. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shnaim Viasrim, the 22nd Legidalti, to Gidalti. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. L'shlosha Viasrim, the 23rd Lemachaziot, to Machaziot. Panavi Achav Shnei Masar. Li'arba v'yasrim l'romamti, the 24th, to l'romamti Azer. That was his name, a dual name. Banavi Achav Shnei Masar, also 12 sons, so that it is 12 times 24, which gives us the full total And that those were the 24 groups and their names, and these were those who were in charge of the singing, and this is how they divided up in groups. So there was groups of the Levites, I'm sorry, groups of the priests, groups of the Levites, and we'll see in the next chapter 26 discussion of the other jobs of the Levites, the jobs of taking care of the gatekeeping and so on and so forth. This concludes chapter 25. Looking forward to studying chapter 26 together with you, and of course, the um, the rest of this beautiful book of Chronicles together. Have a wonderful day.